Now, the search for more victims of the George building collapse continues today. 33 people have been confirmed dead so far, with the death toll expected to rise. President Cyril Ramaphosa visited the site and promised that the families of the victims would get the answers they seek. For what's currently happening on the site or the recovery operation, let's cross now to our reporter in George, Lerato Fekisi. Lerato, good morning. So the president made a stop in George yesterday, I guess once again highlighting just how an important disaster this is for us as South Africans to look at, but there's much else going on as well. We also heard from Colin Diner yesterday in speaking to you that they were hoping to hand over that site today, but how are the developments looking there?
A very good morning to Sakina. I think Colin Diner hit it on the nail when he spoke yesterday about handing over the site to the Department of Labour and Employment and also SABC for it now to be an investigation site. And I just want to walk you through, Sakina, so you can understand. Normally, Sakina, at this time, when you'd arrive for crossings at this time, it would be a hype of activity. There'll be rescue personnel, changing shifts coming in. But if you can see now, literally the tipping trucks, the excavators, every type of machinery that is here is now in a standstill. It pretty much gives an indication that in terms of rescuing personnel and also the rescue operations have come to a halt. This morning when we arrived on the site itself, like I said, normally there is a hype of activity. There are rescue workers actually operating and working, but the ones that came onto shift this morning have actually gone off and no one has come to relieve those that were here this morning. And like I said, the trucks have come to a standstill, so I think it's pretty much safe to say now that in terms of operations, of rescue operations, those have come to a halt. And like Colin Diner said yesterday, the site now is going to be handed over to the Department of Labour and Employment for the SABC to now begin the investigation. And I think that's where the story goes forward now. And just speaking to the president yesterday, questions were asked to him as to how quickly this investigation can be done. And he did appeal to the public and also the victims' families to just be patient, saying that, like the Minister of Public Works declared, that it is a third-party investigation, that it's going to take time, perhaps days, weeks, and even months. But there's also a commitment done by the Premier of the Western Cape, Mr. Alan Winde, saying that he has appealed to the president to make sure that the investigation is done thoroughly, that those that need to be held accountable are held accountable, that the families are given the compensation they must be given timelessly to assist to take their families back home. So the president coming out, like you said yesterday, giving the families his reassurance that there's going to be support. Also, Sakina, speaking about the issue of the hospitalization, most patients have been put in private hospitals, and the president didn't say they mustn't concern themselves with rushing to take them out because of funds, committing also to ensure that they will take care of the funds of the victims still stuck in hospital. Also speaking to Colin Diner yesterday, he spoke about the issue of the 19 unaccounted victims, saying that from his calculations, it's probably less than that because that number came from a figure given by the developer at that time. But also remember, Sakina, that on that day when the building collapsed, a lot of people also ran away because of issues of not having proper documentation. So he did say that the 19 unaccounted is a very primitive number, and from their side, it's probably definitely less than that have been unaccounted for. So now the story goes on now to speak about investigation, and the families are hoping and praying that it will be done swiftly, thoroughly, accurately, that in the end those that are to blame or to take account for this tragedy will take account for this tragedy, and lessons will be learned so that such things don't happen again in future here in George.
Lerato, and I'm not sure if you would know the answer to this, and perhaps it's something that you could update us in the next crossing if you don't, but if the site is going to be handed over now to the department and to the police, what then happens to the rest of the rescue operation? Because by all indications, it seems that some bodies are unaccounted for. So what will happen? Will they simply stop looking, or will they continue to look while other investigations happen concurrently?
If I stand to be corrected on the Sakina, but just speaking to Colin Dana yesterday, he did say, like you see now, that the area is going to be carted off, and there's a cement to obviously protect residents, because this is quite a busy street, to prevent residents from coming on. But the rescue personnel will physically be taken off the site, so there'll be no rescue operations physically taking place in terms of the site. The SAPS then will use it as an investigation site. So I don't foresee a situation where rescue personnel and the SAPS will be on site. I think they will literally take all the rescue personnel, take them off the site completely like they have in the morning, because if you see there's no one on the site currently, which means that they've been taken off completely and the SAPS then takes over. So I don't foresee a situation where bodies will still be searched for on the site.
And just to that point, Lerato, are there still families there though who are waiting, hoping that some of their family members may still be found?
Absolutely, Sakina. Last night at about 4 o'clock, before we headed off after our last crossing, there was a lady sitting down next to me, and I was asking her. She had just come out of the meeting with the president, and I was just wanting to find out if she was someone who's lost a loved one, and she was saying, I still don't know where my brother is. He's not at the mortuary. He's not of the list of those that have been on the list of those that have been found. So she was saying, I still don't know where he is, and I think that's the concern for most people here. While many are still worried about how they're going to take the families back home, like you're saying, there are still those who are saying, I don't even know where my loved one is. I don't know if he's still stuck underground. I don't know if he's one of the ones that have been so badly dilapidated in terms of their body that they can't be identified. So many families, Sakina, without a doubt, are still having questions as to where their loved ones are because they have not been found.
Lerato Fekisi, thank you so much for that update.